Welcome to Transformed, Real Stories, Real Faith. Listen on Spotify, Facebook, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Join us as we break free.
You look great.
All
You
right.
look great. All right. So we're here with Zach. Zach is a pastor of a church. Well, I'm going to let Zach introduce himself. I think you're capable. Zach, would you introduce yourself for
Yeah.
us?
Well, my name is Zach. Um, I am married to my wife, Kat, and we have 4 kids and one on the way, so 5. And I pastor a church in Lone Jack, Missouri. It's actually a church plant. Um,
Explain what that is.
yeah, so
What would a church plan be?
Yeah, and so basically we started it from the ground up back in September of 2025. And so
Mm-hmm.
my wife and I moved out to Lone Jack a few years ago, and living out here, we saw a need for a fellowship to meet the needs of the community. And so as we built relationships with people in the community, we started a Bible study, a small group, and eventually, it progressed into, a church as we know it. So I
Mm-hmm.
pastor a church called Fellowship 42 here in Lone Jack. 42, we get that from Acts 2:42. And so if you're familiar with transformative living, you know that passage. And then I pay my bills by selling basset hounds and building
Mm-hmm.
furniture. So,
And now the name of the Basset Hounds, if anyone's interested, isn't it Wee Little Bassets?
yes, Wee Little
Wee
Basset.
Little Bassets. They can be found on Facebook.
Yeah, you can find us. There's
Um,
also a website, WeLittleBassets.com, and then if you're
yeah,
interested in some furniture, it's WeLittleWoodworks.com. So,
I did not know that. So I will put that in the caption
yeah,
for everyone. I've seen the Bassets. They are real Bassets.
they're
And
real.
look, and I know you're a man that likes good furniture, so I'm
Yeah.
just trying to fix this. I'm not going to worry with it. All right, so I'm going to ask you a few questions, just like any interview would go. I must warn you, I am a journalist major. Um, so,
Well, I'm gonna
so
try my best to turn this into the scene off of Step Brothers where I start doing the.
okay, all right. It's like you have somebody pop out from behind you.
Yeah.
uh, Hello, Miss Lady.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah,
all
fire away.
right. So, early on, so before you became a pastor, what were you doing? What age were you when? So, all right, you did play a little college ball. Didn't you pitch a little bit?
Yep.
I bet
Yeah.
you couldn't strike me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't. No.
Yeah.
What are your 0 and 2 pitch? What was it? Low and
What,
outside?
what was my go-to?
Yep. 0
My
and 2.
Yeah. Oh, 0-2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, I pitched off my fastball, or my changeup, excuse me, and so 0-2. More times than not was a fastball coming because a lot of
Uh,
0-0 and 1-1 and those were a lot of changeups. So I would like to come 0-2 or
uh,
ahead in the count with a fastball.
that's what I'm saying, low and outside. I'll tell you, I pitched a little bit, so I know
High
a
and
little bit
tight for
about
you.
life.
On high and tight
Well,
for you.
yeah, so I know a little bit about life on the mound, okay? But I didn't see many 0 and 2 counts.
Yeah.
I felt more comfortable on the mound at 3 and 0. That's when I did my magic,
Yeah.
okay? So,
That's not very efficient, John.
nope. No, nor was I as a pitcher. So, well,
Yeah.
it's just like I tell my wife, if I'd have been better at baseball, I'd have went pro.
Yeah.
So,
That's logical for all of us. If I would have
That's
been
a
better, I
fact.
would have went
If
broke.
I'd have been better, I'd have been. So, anyway, so I use a dark highlighter on these questions I'm asking
Yeah,
and not thinking that I wouldn't be able to read it. So, just bear with me.
yeah,
So, if we could just focus on your relationship with your father growing up, because he was a pastor.
correct.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
So,
you want me to just walk you through that?
right, did you have, was it a normal father-son dynamic? Like, did he urge you to become a pastor maybe, or just let you do what you and your brother do what y'all were gonna do?
Yeah. So I guess I'd start off saying, my father and I, we were best friends.
Hmm.
We had a great relationship with each other. He loved baseball as well. He was a pitcher. He's the one who taught me how to pitch, and so we always had this bond from an early age. Over the game of baseball. He was a competitive son of a gun, and I kind of was cut from the same cloth, and so it wasn't really hard for us to connect, get along together. So we had a great relationship. We bonded over baseball. Like you said, he was a pastor. And so growing up, I heard biblical truths. I heard, principles, in my home, from him. Um, I respected him, and what he did. Um, but I didn't care a whole lot about or didn't see a need for a relationship, with Christ. And so that
Hmm.
was never really a part of our relationship. As the Bible, says, and I know now, I just satisfied the desires, of the flesh for the first 22
Hmm.
years of my life. And, he did not, um, try to shove a square peg through a round hole,
Hmm.
because he understood, salvation, my salvation in particular, was not his to own. There's nothing he could do for me. He couldn't save me himself, and so I think the
Hmm.
best way to talk about it actually is, when I was 16, he sat me down on the couch and he told me basically, hey. I have done my part in what the Lord has asked me to do as your father. And now I want you to know that you, basically you belong to you're God's problem now. I think it's the best way to put it.
Right. I've
Uh,
done what I could.
yeah,
My dad told me that about the army.
yeah.
Uh,
And
kind of same thing.
it's not that he didn't continue to facilitate that role in my life, but he sat me down and he said, "I don't have a curfew for you. I don't have a certain GPA I'm asking you to uphold. I don't have these expectations of you." He just simply told me, "Hey, whatever you get yourself into, just know." I'm not going to bail you out. And so I remember at 16 hearing that going, oh, dude, that's awesome. I got just free reign of life now. And uh,
Do what I want.
yeah, and so I did. I did what I want. And, being a father now of kids, I can imagine how hard that was for him to say that and do that and stand by that and watch me, tear apart my life. Um,
Right.
but so no, to answer your question, it wasn't forced upon me. He modeled things for me as I was running amok. He was still very hospitable. He was, gracious and truthful. And, I only wish now, knowing the Lord, that I could have shared, that part, with him as well, like we did baseball.
Right. So you kind of answered my next question. So you didn't feel any pressure to become a minister or pastor at all then.
No, no, I pursued while I was playing ball in college. I pursued a business degree. I got my bachelor's in business, and If I
Hmm.
didn't, make a living playing baseball, my plan was, I was going to start, a training facility and run some club baseball teams. And so I thought,
Hmm.
a business degree is, what I'm going to do because that's, what I was going to pursue. And so there were no aspirations heading into college or the first few years of college of, being a minister or being in ministry. There was no thought of that.
Okay. So there was a turning point, obviously. So how did so your father was battling cancer.
Hmm.
So how did that battle impact your personal faith at the time then
Yeah.
while he was battling?
Well, I mean, it didn't impact my personal faith in the sense that I didn't have one to begin with. But what it did was it made me ask some questions I never asked before. Um,
Hmm.
because while I didn't necessarily hold to or believe to the things that guided his life, I still viewed him as a good man, who did a
Hmm.
lot of, good things. And so I started asking questions like, you know, why would something like this happen to somebody who's doing a lot of good things,
Hmm.
for people and with his life. And, um, it just so happened when he got diagnosed with cancer and passed, I actually was in the middle of a red shirt year because I had shoulder surgery playing ball. And so I found myself in a position where I was without the two things that I depended upon, or some would
Hmm.
say the two things that I found my identity in, and that was ball, and that was, my relationship with my father because it was good. And so I was
Hmm.
without those two things, and so it prompted a lot of questions. Like how can this happen to somebody who's doing good? It prompted questions like what is my purpose now? I don't,
Hmm.
have this relationship. I don't have baseball, anymore. And so I found myself just kind of looking in the mirror going, who are you? What are you supposed to be doing? And so it prompted questions like that I think ultimately, not I think, I know ultimately led back to, all the seeds that he had planted in me, over the years. So,
Hmm. So So you weren't getting your mind still wasn't made up on what you were doing other than your business degree during your dad's battle. So when was the exact moment you did feel that calling to
yeah.
the ministry?
Yeah, so my wife now, I met her at college. She was a basketball player there. It was a small school, and so
Mm.
basically it was all athletes. And so, I had interest in her. We had a class together, and I saw her, around campus. And I got a message from her one night asking me if I wanted to go to a Bible study with her, and I responded, and I said, I'm a pastor's kid. I know what a Bible study is. I know what you're trying to do to me. you try.
Right, yeah.
You're trying to brainwash me. But
Uh,
so she sends.
those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
sends that. She sends that message, and of course I go because I was interested in her, and I found myself sitting in that Bible study listening, to people have conversation, and I'm listening to the text that they're going over. And, I went back the next week and, I kept going because I was interested in her. And then I found myself in a place going, hey, I know what you guys are talking about, or hey, I've heard some things in my life that I think, maybe I can add to this conversation and help y'all process through this
Hmm.
text. It's not because I knew these things personally, but because, I was just regurgitating what, I had heard my, dad say for so many years. And so, I started participating in the group, that way. And then what happened was I'd find myself, at home in my room, and I had this appetite for the word. I would start reading what we were going over the next week, and looking back now, it's like, where did this appetite come from? I know now, where it comes from. But so I started reading the word for the first time, and as I started reading the word, and my appetite, for it grew, I started bringing more to the table. Started asking more questions, in these small groups. And long story short, it turned into, the Bible study leader asked me if I would start to lead, the group. And, I reluctantly said yes. And so I started leading the group for a while. And, from there, things kind of escalated, and I started preaching on campus, and started some more
Okay.
small groups.
So
Um,
on campus at the college you were playing baseball at, correct?
yeah, yeah, and of course
Did
my
you,
teammates are like, "What's this guy doing?"
right, so I was going to ask, did that cause any, did making people feel a certain way about you, because you were, you know, preaching,
Yeah,
that, right, did
it was
that, did you,
confusing. Yeah, it was
so,
confusing.
right, so, because did that, maybe think you were even doing it just because you were interested in a girl that had a strong Christian beliefs at the time then. So I could see I could see cruel jokes being made, and that was that a part of it?
Yeah, I think it was more. It wasn't necessarily, you know, my wife as much as it was, so like, early in this journey, my house was the party house. On a Friday night, I would have the athletic
Hmm.
department, at my house, partying, and
Right.
then on Saturday night, I'm in the commons, on campus preaching. And so there was this,
Hmm.
you know, this weird dichotomy of what's this guy doing,
Yeah, so which one really is he?
Yes.
Because if
Yeah.
you're at the watering hole on Saturday night and at the pulpit Sunday, I mean,
Yeah.
which person are you going to listen to? The one at the bar or the one at the church?
Yeah. And,
So,
and that was it. That was it right there.
yeah. Okay. So when so your dad unfortunately did lose his battle with cancer.
Yeah.
Um, and at that time, was there a sudden spark? Was the aha moment then that you felt led to follow in his footsteps? Or maybe not follow in his footsteps because I believe you're making your own footsteps, but in the sense of go ahead and going into ministry full time, start that process.
Yeah, I think the aha moment came, as things transpired, from, hosting parties on Friday night and preaching on Saturday morning, and leading Bible studies.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, as my appetite for the word continued to grow, some of the desires for the
Changed.
former life started to fade away. And when those started fading away, the more I sunk my teeth into, the word and what God was asking of me, and again, I'm still in this place of asking this question, hey, who am I now? What am I supposed to do now post surgery and no ball? The more I sunk my teeth there, I started asking questions about, um, is this business that I'm pursuing what I'm supposed to be doing? And, I took counsel from, friends of mine that I knew, knew the Lord and could discern, for me. And,
Mm-hmm.
so in that, prayer and, the counsel of other people, and eventually coming to the conclusion on my own that, hey, God's given me, some influence, and some giftings to shepherd, people. And so it just became clear this is what I was supposed to do. And it was never, I'm going to follow in the footsteps of somebody,
Hmm.
because I'm too much of a turd. And I'm too stubborn,
Uh,
to want to do that. And so it was never that as much as it was. It got kind of wrecked me for everything else,
right.
um,
Hmm.
because I surely wouldn't have chosen to go back and pastor, my dad's church, and do what he did, because like I said, I'm too stubborn, to
Right. So
do.
I think people listening that don't know, so when you started pastoring, you were the pastor of the church your dad started, correct?
Correct. So when I got
Uh,
home from college, I went to seminary school, in Kansas City, and started serving in the
uh-huh.
student ministry, there at the church that he had started. And shortly after I started serving in there was an opening for the senior pastor position, and they asked me if I was interested. And long story short, I think I was 25, 26 years old. I started, as the senior pastor there, at the church that he had found.
Uh, that is one of the neater stories that I've ever heard. I think that's amazing.
I think
Um,
it tells you how crazy the congregation was, to vote
well,
on
and I had
25.
the pleasure of meeting a lot of them. I did. Y'all came to West Point to do a project,
Yeah.
and I got to meet a few of them, and then we made a trip up to see y'all. And then y'all came. It's been a few times, and Ben didn't invite me to your sister's wedding.
He didn't,
Um,
did he?
no, and I now and here's not the time, but I'm gonna have a talk with him about
We're
it.
going to have a part two of the
Uh,
podcast for that.
Yeah, and it's gonna have to have the after dark on it, because there might be some language, and
Yeah.
because you tell me we're family at Christmas, but come wedding time, well, what do you think? I'm gonna embarrass people? Come on. I have the same seersucker that I've had for 10 years. I've gained weight, but the seersucker hadn't. Um, so how has your leadership role evolved since you first started day one as pastor of your dad's church to where you're at now?
That's a good question. Um, My initial response, the first thing that rises up, I think day one, I had this Superman complex, in the pastorate. Only I could do these things and help these people. Um, I think what's what's taken place over the years since is, I'm more interested in multiplying and passing on, um, raising up others. That's probably the biggest difference between day one and now. Um,
Okay.
does that make any sense?
So it does. So it seems like you were saying, if I'm translating it correctly, like once you became senior pastor, you had made it. You were the guy that needed to do this. You were the guy that needed to have his hand in everything because this was yours.
Yeah, and if I
Uh,
don't do it, it won't be done well, and I
you
can
get
do
them
it best because I'm the only one that
uh,
can do it. And yeah,
right. Well, we all know someone that like that,
yeah,
and I'm that way, and sometimes Monopoly comes to mind. Uh,
that happens
I'm
to be my game of choice, John.
yeah. Is it? Well,
Yeah.
I've seen how competitive you are at cornhole, and I believe the exact phrase I heard you say was "Daddy is locked in." Daddy is locked in. So,
Yeah.
um, and, and you had made it all three of your your
Yeah.
bag. So me and my teammate couldn't really deny that Daddy had, in fact,
I'm allergic to
made
lizards.
it. Yeah. So,
It runs in.
all right. I'm gonna ask you one more serious question. Then I got another one for you that is not so serious.
Yeah.
If you could go back, well, no, if you could talk to the present day young versions of Zach, what would you tell them?
Listen more is what I would tell him.
Hmm. So
Uh,
anything in particular, or
John 10:27 is what I would share with um, 25, 26-year-old Zach. John 10:27 says, Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me." Um, and so I would tell me, spend more time listening for his voice before you respond, before you move. Um,
hmm
because if I could boil the journey down to anything, John, that would be it right there. I mean, he puts it so simply, and yet it's profound. But the Christian journey is boiled down to, what did Jesus say, and what did you do? Because he
hmm
says, "My sheep hear my voice, and they follow me." It's as simple as that. And so, but the catch is we got to stop long enough, to listen, so we know where to go, what to say, what to do. And so that's
hmm
probably what I'd tell him.
because and that kind of goes back to, we kind of, in the back of our mind, everyone has a feeling of what is right and what is wrong. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have to be told technically that it would be wrong to take food from someone that needed it.
Right,
And so yes, so the feeling, because it's the fruits of the spirit.
right.
Um, and all right, well, all right. So now I think I'm gonna give you two. One of them's very important, near and dear to me, that I feel is important. When it comes to pizza and pineapple,
Pizza and pineapple.
hmm are these? Would do you eat? Would you do you do it? Ha,
Do you do
like,
it?
well, look, because Zach, I gotta know.
Yeah, is our friendship on the line?
I mean, if anything could put it on the line, that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I've tried to do research on how many of serial killers like pineapples on pizza. There's no data to support either argument.
yeah.
But I'll make it up. I'll make it up and say that they all liked it. And so, do you like pineapples on pizza?
Yeah, the short
So you've
answer.
okay, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Now I've eaten it and
yeah,
been polite.
yeah.
Have you ordered it?
Um, I've
Probably.
ordered. I've
You
ordered it.
probably.
I've ordered it before. Yeah, it's not the.
So.
I mean, meat lovers is the go-to. Um, but there have been times in my life where I've ordered pineapple on pizza. Yeah, and if that estranges, this relationship, I will change for no man, John. I will change for no man.
Well, I just don't think. I think both of them separate are good enough.
Yeah.
That's like saying I mean, I don't know what that's like saying, because it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
What's
And
ridiculous? What is? Tell me what is ridiculous about
all right, all
pineapple
right.
and
So,
Canadian bacon together? Because when you think about it, all right, I'll shut up.
but if you put a crust under that and make it pizza, it's crazy, ludicrous. Should be illegal in 48 states. I don't care what you do in Alaska and Hawaii. I'm not going.
I was gonna ask you which two are exempt.
Yes, I'm not going. Um. All right. So Now I've seen you do this. A lot of things are being put together. I saw you eating a bag of chips, and you had opened it from the bottom.
You see me do that?
Yeah, yeah. It was when you were in West Point, and you said you just didn't notice.
Yeah.
So it was pork rinds. Uh,
And I open them from the bottom.
yeah, you said and now you could have given the reason that all the good flavorings down there, but you said that you didn't notice it, and then we talked for 30 minutes about how it really ended up being a smart idea because all the flavoring is
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah. Have you tried
So
it since?
I won't do that. No, no.
That's what I want to know. Have you tried it since?
I can guarantee you, I have never opened a chip bag from the bottom
Let me
ever.
ask you
And
this. Is it,
okay,
I have a question for you. Is it because you have a little bit of OCD that you
guaranteed.
can't do it?
I think it would bother me to the point. Odd numbers,
Yeah.
not big on.
Yeah.
So every other year, I am a complete total nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, I have
I've
some.
got you pegged now. You know, Counselor Zach's I got a lot of questions now, but I'll refrain.
Right. Well, yeah, Ben's asked them, I guarantee you. Look, look, I'll say something about myself. I don't mind. I've been to counseling enough over my life from a child through counseling through Afghanistan that I know what to tell the counselor
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get it over with. Like
Right.
I know what you want to hear.
Yeah.
So, and I think Ben found that out about me, and we just talked about sports and ended up doing a great job. I got a lot more out of it. So, um, if you could hug one person, non-relative, uh, and they got to be alive,
Yeah.
who would it be?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what Ben's was. Jason Witten, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, it's not that.
Yeah,
It's not Jason Witten. I don't like the Cowboys, and
right, yeah.
it seems weird of anybody on the planet to have an infatuation with a tight end from the Cowboys.
Tight end. I mean, I can understand Dak Prescott
You
or
know, or Emmitt Smith or
yeah, but he
Michael
won't.
Irvin or like Jason.
He, he's wanting to hug somebody's fifth round draft on their fantasy team. You know,
It doesn't get any lower than that.
Hey, like I took a kicker before I took a second tight end. But
Oh,
it was that Asian kicker. Um,
all right. So so if I could hug anybody in the
mhm.
world,
In the world currently
that's
living,
past,
yeah.
present, future. What is that?
Well, they're currently living, so now you could hug a version of someone. Uh, I know, no, let's keep it today because the next question I'm gonna let you go back in time on.
Okay. All right. So living today, family
Right,
count?
family cannot count.
Family don't count.
Right, because then I think everybody would have the same answer.
Yes.
If they lost a parent or a sibling or somebody, it'd be that. So,
Yeah.
living today don't have to be famous. It can be that dude at the grocery store you see. I don't know why it would be that, but
Yeah.
it can be anybody. We don't have to know them.
Sounds like there's a dude at a grocery store that you need to hug. Um,
See there, man, and he's quite the salesman
yeah.
because he got me to buy some sausage one time that I didn't want to buy.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's still in the refrigerator. That was last year.
So
Uh,
the first name that comes, to mind, is a friend of mine named Chad Sipes. Chad Sipes, not a famous person. Um, you know, Probably nobody listening to this is going to know who this is, but
mhm.
Chad Sipes is a good friend. Chad gives great hugs. Um, and for whatever reason, when Chad gives you a hug, it just encourages your spirit. Um, And
No,
so,
that's interesting. So the quality of hug, not the person giving the hug, is what makes you want the hug.
I mean, the
That
great
just blew
quality,
my mind.
great quality guy too. But also, when you have a great
Yeah.
quality guy and a great quality hug, like that's hard
You
to
don't find it often. Yeah.
do.
I'd like to think I'm a decent hugger.
What makes a good hugger?
Who?
What makes a good hugger?
I feel like you have to have that forearm placement. But it's gotta be, but I'm gonna tell you something. If you want to blow minds, when you're shaking, I think I've taught you this move. When you're going in to shake a hand,
Yeah.
all right, and you go ahead and you shake the hand with your opposite hand, put a little deal here going. You see what I'm saying? Maybe put it right there. It's gonna rock their world. Like, well, what country does this dude
Yeah.
run? Like, what a pleasure to meet him. Well, Zach, I appreciate you being on. Uh, I
Yeah.
know you've been a big help to a lot of people that you may not realize. The work you did in West Point and the relationships that you built up there. I know me, especially, I still treasure that and the other people that I got to meet from your congregation at the time. Still keep in touch with them. And I know I would say everyone remember will never forget that time that was a part of it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I appreciate it that you coming on, and we'll probably do a live show like get you and Ben and I don't know someone else, maybe Jason Witten if he's in town, and do some type of live show where we can have call in guests and ask questions and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Well,
All right.
two things as we go.
Yeah.
One, all right. Um, I'm not. I don't do podcasts. I've turned down several podcast opportunities, and I wouldn't even do it for Ben. I wouldn't do it for transformative living. I'm only doing this because of John Wesley.
The views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the hosts, producers, or our sponsors.